Hello there everyone, it's been a little bit since I've made a long form video, and that is related to the subject of this video, as you've probably put together. I've been hit with a major bout of art block for numerous reasons, and I'm getting pretty sick of it. Over the past several months, I haven't been drawing nearly as much as I've wanted to. I felt like I was running out of inspiration, art ideas, video ideas, everything, so I'm going to try out a few different methods to help with that. So my first attempt at curing myself of art block was to try something new. In the past, when I've hit a rut or needed to draw something but didn't know what, I just tried doing something random with my style. In this case, I want to draw my Sona, but change up my coloring style and work with some interesting textures. The sketching was pretty standard. I didn't deviate from my usual process. It turned out better than I was expecting, considering I'm out of practice though. I went with slightly darker, more muted colors, but the main difference was in the way I rendered the skin, especially around the blush eye area. I experimented with the brushes here, leaning towards watercolor and colored pencil textured ones, and a little bit of pastel in there too. Then I basically just scribbled in the colors, and if I didn't like it, I just scribbled over that and did a weird sort of cross-hatching method to get the texture how I wanted. It turned out pretty good, and I ended up wanting to do something similar with this piece I drew of my OC Odette. For my painting of Odette, I just went straight into a clean sketch with a dark red colored pencil and ended up with using that as my line art. This was definitely less rendered, but I used a similar method as the past picture. So would I call this method a success? Yeah, to an extent at least. I was inspired by sketchy styles and tried it out for myself. I ended up liking it, and I drew a whole nother piece because of it. The only reason I don't call it a complete success is because after drawing these, I still did not feel out of my art block and continued having problems with drawing ideas in general. So let's meet back up, starting with my next method. Okay, so method 2. My next method is going to be crazy. Show-stopping. This piece of information may just blow your mind. It is the just draw what you want method. Yeah, that's it. So what I did first was I just made a checklist of stuff that I like drawing and a list of what I should draw. Things that I don't do much of or need to draw more of to reach my goals. I ended up with this list and decided I should draw 2 of my OCs in an epic battle. I knew I wanted to draw my OC Calista because I don't draw her enough, even though she's literally one of my favorite OCs. I love her so much. I basically went straight into thumbnailing and would figure out who the other OC would be in the future. It took me a bit to get the right pose, which was expected since I don't draw many interactions between characters, and also action it's difficult to capture that type of movement like a still image, which obviously is something I need to work on since I draw lots of knights and fighting and all that type of stuff. Anyways, I ended up going with Dane as the second character. I know that's so surprising. I totally don't draw him all the time. Originally I was gonna have him wear his helmet, but got rid of that so I could work on some more expressions. Everything else was pretty straightforward. I just did some on the fly, give them some different armor, notably Calista. But since the process was mostly the same, I'm just gonna talk a little more about the art block in general. So art block is not new to me, but I think that this was the first time I felt like I couldn't draw all that I wanted to this year. I had a lot of new changes and a lot less time than I previously had, and art kind of slipped away into the background for a moment there. When I finally felt ready to pick things back up again, I didn't have anything to draw, and it started this little cycle that I stopped doing finished works and, by extension, videos. Now, some of you viewers may watch my shorts content, which I've been semi-consistent with, and that honestly is probably because shorts content is a lot easier for me to make. The animating part kind of is a little harder, technically, even though it probably doesn't look like it, and takes time, even though mine are very simplistic. But when you account for the scripting and the editing that I do for long form videos, it does stack up time-wise pretty quickly. Finished pieces, I feel are harder to either center around a video or center a video around. Like I might have a piece that I like, but it might not necessarily make for a good video, if that makes sense. So to sum it up, I want to do these things, but it's getting hard to find inspiration and time. So I'm doing this to help find a way to fight that. Back to the drawing, I went kind of crazy with the lighting. I wanted this very heavenly feeling, but like in an intimidating way, if that makes sense. I did have some trouble with the background though. I really wanted to work with one, but it just got too busy looking, so I scrapped it and went with a red background with some graphic randomish shapes. Yeah, I don't know, like, I don't know if I'm completely sold on it, especially like in the colors. I don't know. It's like, I like it, but do I love it? Yeah. So like overall, I guess this one works. It's probably like a little finite though. Like I couldn't do this endlessly. But you know, that list thing I would say is a pretty good idea if you're struggling with what to draw. Okay, so method 3, this is going to be the last method, I think. Then I'm going to make like a pretty picture. At least I hope it's pretty. That wraps everything up. So method 3 is studying. I know that's really scary. So there are 2 main reasons that studying can be so helpful. One is that there's always stuff you need to learn. You'll pretty much never run out of studies to try, and there are so many different things that you can study, so overall it's great for when you want to draw but don't know what to draw. 2 is that when you have art block, naturally you're either drawing less or have the art block where all of your art is turning out kind of wonky, and then like you don't want to draw because you feel like all of your drawings look like crap. In which case, it's great to exercise those art muscles and get practicing, just, you know, try and get the funk out. I mostly did photo studies and gesture drawings of people, lots of which I didn't record because they were done traditionally, but I probably have pictures up. I don't know. I did this old photo one that you're probably looking at right now, or at least were, I don't know, I'm just reading the script right now. I also did this painting study, and painting studies always scare me. I don't know, they're just so intimidating because I rely heavily on lines for my style, and paintings always seem to have that scary stage where I don't know if anything is working right. In the end, it turned out nice. I like it even though it's certainly far from perfect. But, you know, it's cool. It's definitely good to get out of your comfort zone, which I feel like both staying in your comfort zone when trying to figure out something to draw and getting out of your comfort zone when trying to draw, like, can both, like, if you use them right, then they can work pretty well for helping art block. Honestly, there's not much for me to say that I haven't already. Studies are definitely good to do whether you have art block or not. I can't say I got my creative juices flowing just yet, but I always get a little determination boost after doing studies, so it did get the job done. Alright, so we're on the final piece. Now at this stage, I was finally feeling very inspired. I wanted to apply a little bit of what I was learning with the studies, mostly from the previous painting, but I also wanted to lean into a more heavenly Renaissance vibe, which came from the drawing that I did when I was just drawing stuff I like. So I also pulled up some paintings from the Renaissance, just like to have a little mood board, I guess. Honestly, I'm really glad I made this one for a video because usually I make a drawing that's like literally the best thing I've ever done, and then I have no video to go with it, which basically means that very few people are even gonna see it. Anyway, for this art piece, I did some thumbnailing, and yes, I actually used references, especially on the horse, so that's good. I've been trying to use references more lately because drawing from imagination is great, and I still definitely do that. Obviously, I'm doing fantasy art of elves, so, but, you know, it's good to have that structure for anatomy, perspective, all those types of things. I wanted the foreground and the background to be somewhat chaotic looking with all of the soldiers running around, and then Dane would be this very poised, strong focal point, like this very even centerpiece. I did a little bit of an underpainting thing for this just to get the lighting and the colors down, and I really think that helped when I was in the lighting and coloring stage. Obviously, that's kind of the whole point of underpainting. So it was a nice low pressure way to know what the heck I'm doing. The colors really came together, I think. In the end, I did a more monotone orange-yellow color palette, but I feel like it still feels very rich and colorful, just with all of those gold highlights and the variation in the values. It's pretty different, like especially the color palette that I tend to lean towards, and just sketching everything. Like I was trying not to like put too much pressure on myself to make this like the best thing I've ever painted. So I didn't put too much pressure on myself, I think, but I, just enough to make myself elevate. And I feel like to make something that you really love, especially with art or just something that you're very proud of, I feel like you have to get out of your comfort zone at least just a little bit, and add it to stuff that you, like subject matter that you really love or are used to. And I think like that combination of things really like can get you somewhere that you like. And obviously not every time you do that it's going to be like the best thing you've ever painted, but I feel like that formula does lead to a lot of paintings that I'm proud of. So I don't know, maybe you can try that too. When I was nearing the end of the painting, I added some brush strokes and scribbles, mostly in the background, to give it that movement I was wanting, and also that Renaissance painting vibe. Also, in the sun, I wanted to kind of make it look a little bit like gold leaf to further push that Renaissance thing. So I hope that looks cool. Yeah, so after all of that, how do I feel? Well, it might be a little too early to tell, but after doing all of this, I do feel like I'm getting out of the art block. Since I've drawn that piece, I've done, a few others, and hey, I'm happy with them, and I've also continued doing studies. And, part of that could be because I'm just getting more time in the Christmas season, school's out. But yeah, I do feel like I'm getting out of the art block. Obviously, it's important to keep in mind that you do need to take breaks from art from time to time to help prevent both mental and physical fatigue. And sometimes a break is a good thing to let your mind rest. In fact, before I made the final piece, I did almost a week break from drawing. I only allowed myself to sketch in my sketchbook, which for some people that might not seem like a long time, but for me, who's used to drawing 3 or 4 finished art pieces in a week, like I was doing, that definitely feels like a lot. And I think it was good to just say, hey, don't try and push yourself for this week, just do only a little bit. And instead, if I had an art idea, like I actually had the idea for this piece come to me during that week I wasn't drawing, so I just did a little thumbnail and made a note to myself, and I was like, okay. And then I came back to it when I was ready, and it turned out great. So if you're in an art block, don't beat yourself up. But if you're ready to get back at it again, I hope that this video helped you out even just a little. If you're interested in seeing more of my art, you can check out my Instagram. And other than that, I'm hoping to get back into gear and make some more videos before the next semester starts up. I hope you all enjoyed. Bye.